That's it. Oh, what a catch!
Seconds now.
Patterson splits it. Goodbye.
Looking, firing, end zone. Oh, what a catch by it! He's in bounds. He's going. 1 will 30, 20. He will score. Breaking a tackle and taking it past midfield. An opening kickoff return. Jacobs with running room right up the middle. Jacobs is on his way. The Raiders are going to win this game.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Appreciate y'all for joining us. It's the One-on-One Sports Show. My name is Shawnee.
My name is Dante.
And first off, I guess we're just going to jump right on to it. We're going to get into our title story, I guess, of the day. And basically, it's going to be off the Tim Anderson and Jose Ramirez fight that was, what was that, this past weekend?
Yeah, it was this weekend.
With the White Sox and the Indians. Well, the Guardians now. I don't want to say Indians anymore. But yeah, it was a fight that prompted a lot of social media attention, went viral, and it had to wonder, because you see it all the time with baseball fights. Really, a lot of times nothing really happens. They just jaw at each other, but you always see the respective bullpens of each team, man, the dugouts empty and just run onto the field.
Clear out.
And nothing really happens. Very rarely, well, I don't want to say very rarely, maybe about twice a season where they actually get physical. But really, what you don't see often is clean punches landing. The last one, of course, I can remember is Rougned Odor when he was with the Rangers. That whole fight went viral. And then, of course, this fight when Ramirez caught him with this, that looked like just a right haymaker, looked like. He was just trying to swing out the way. Caught Anderson in the cheek. Anderson immediately fell down from it, and he was staggering from it. And ultimately, at the end of it, Anderson got a 6-game suspension while Ramirez only got 3. And I think, because I didn't look at the details yet of why they gave Anderson more, but I want to say that, because they was able to get Anderson off the field, and then he came back on the field, trying to get more action. So maybe trying to re-engage in the fight, maybe that played a part why he got 6 games compared to 3. Because Ramirez, he was pretty much, once they removed him from it, they left him alone. It was just between Anderson and Ramirez. Ramirez caught him one, so. But the whole thing we were looking at though is, okay, there's fights in when there's fights in MLB, NHL, hell, even NASCAR. NASCAR is almost encouraged, because I believe they have like let the boys go at it, some slogan like that.
Yeah. It almost feels like it is.
Yeah, so it's like they just let them go after. If they get into it on pit row or whatever. After a wreck, they let them go. But the whole thing is not really just the fight itself; it's the narrative and the aftermath from the media afterwards. Those MLB, NHL, and NASCAR, those three sports, a fight can happen. The only thing that really had this fight, particularly with Anderson, that went viral because he got knocked down. But other than that, that thing probably would have been gone the next day. Because you can see, But
it would have just been on Sports Center.
Exactly.
That's it.
And not even worth going viral, because not that much people follow baseball for it to go viral like that. But compared to fights that happen in the NFL or the NBA, in particular, those two sports, and the thing about it, fights in the NFL, people are looking at it like you stupid. Why you fight in the NFL? Because you fully padded. So you throw a punch, you gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna potentially break your hand or whatnot. So you're already looking at like why you fight. That's why they just push. And in basketball, very rarely do they actually clench up their fist. They do all this pushing and shoving or just jawing at each other. They really don't clench up their fist that much. And even if they do clench up their fist, they rarely even connect. The last one that I can remember that had a clenched up fist and a connect was the whole Rajon Rondo and Chris Paul fight. But, that's because Rondo spat on Paul, so that was warranted that Paul, started swinging on him. But just the narrative of the two, they don't match or whatnot. So
Yeah, I'm with you. I just feel like it's something uncomfortable. We talked about it pre-show that you just have to be honest about it, and they don't want to allow certain things to happen in the other sports. Like obviously in football, you can't really stop it if a fight breaks out. Guys trying to break it up, you're padded, and certain situations from happening. But in basketball, I'll say the difference is the bullpens can come out in baseball. You can't. They don't want the guys to clear. Like they said. I want to say the rule was set. I want to say it was between one of those fights between the Heat and the Knicks that when it was real heated in the late 90s. And somebody, the team, I want to say the team ran off, and then I want to say suspensions happened, and I want to say it was basically a watered down game 7 because it's got so many suspensions, and that rule was set and it's a reactionary thing, and that's why I don't always feel like it should be point cut and dry. It's hey, you want to reach out and help your brother, your teammates, your brothers, coworkers, whatever, however you want to put it. You want to go out and help and things like that. So I don't feel like it's treated the right way, and we know they basically real bad there's been real bad brawls in Major League Baseball. I know that one of the more famous ones, it was alcohol induced, where it was 10 cents beer the 70s, and it's been brawls and things that happen, and they market the game in that way sometimes. Being a Texas Rangers fan, we may have had not the best history, but for damn sure we got the Odor fight and we have the Nolan Ryan fight with Robin Ventura. So it's those are two things, and they market it differently. Whereas the other sports, I feel like you always want to talk about rivalries and and sports hate. I'm big on saying sports hate. Sports dislike, however you want to put it. I don't think it's a problem of okay, this fight happened, it's just up. We're not saying to do it. We're not saying, hey, don't suspend him. Is Tim's worth 6? Probably not. He probably just upset that, hey, look, he squared up. Dude caught him with a lucky punch. It looked like he could barely hits him, and then he's still a little flustered up about it. So maybe you give him 4, but not 6. And I do say I do like the process of the MLB. Okay, you're gonna sit out, you can still play, pills going on, cool. And they'll go ahead and make it happen and announce a decision, and it'll go away in a few weeks. Sometimes I think the way they do the NBA fights, you're bringing it on longer. And we can't even bring up, NHL, where it's just they have reduced for, super casual, don't pay attention too much. But it's been a bunch of efforts to reduce the fighting and have, the skilled skaters and stuff, and the offensive and the have it free flowing. But those goons are still there. They still get it. They still get it in. And it's just it's just I think it's the uncomfortability of, hey, look, this is a predominantly black sport, and we're going to have people, fighting sometimes. And yes, our primary consumer base is white, and we feel like they're not comfortable with that. And it's just they're comfortable with it in other formats. you'll be fine. I feel like that's a failure of the sports leagues of I'll say the NBA primarily because the NFL, you know, I mean, it's looked at as man, these guys are gladiators, and you know, and sometimes also depending on the situation and your reputation, you know, I know Shani remembers that infamous beatdown that Andre Johnson, you know, gave to Cortland Finnegan, you know, helmet off, and he just let loose, and it was so bad. His reputation was so good between like when I time living in Houston, his reputation in the city and his reputation in the league. I don't even think he got suspended. If I can remember, it was just like you must. It was one of those you must have really messed up to get this person that's a real solid stand up guy, great pillar of the community. You made him that mad, and you earned
Yeah.
that.
That was just a robbery at the time between the Texans and the Titans. When Andre he caught him with that uppercut.
Whoa, man, that was just
That
like
thing still
yeah, that
celebrated in the city to this day.
should be. I mean, good clean fight, good clean fight, but. It's for me. It's just like I like to point it out. I mean, this you know this is the platform to do it, and so I was right with Shani when he said, "Hey man, we got to talk about how these fights they just get covered different and just looked at it in a totally different scope." And I feel like you know the sports networks, the national shows have a place in it too because you can drown out what the people are saying locally. Like that happen, we see that happen all the time with teams. Just like you know, you'll hear them locally, like, "Hey, locally, we're thinking of it like this," whereas nationally, it's getting painted and getting focused on that. I feel like they should do a better job of saying, "Hey, look, the guy slid into him." You know, at least interview it afterwards, get some context because you could tell he was unhappy when he got slid into. When
Yeah,
Tim
I still
Anderson
don't
got
know
slid
what.
into,
I still
he,
really don't know.
he didn't. To me, he didn't immediately. The guy slides in on the play, and he didn't immediately move. He, you know, kind of looked him up and down, and you know, kind of looked over him like, you know, and to certain guys, hey, he's looked at as he doesn't respect the game. Like through a translator, Jose Ramirez said he's been disrespecting the game a long time, and then those are two divisional teams, so he's probably like, I mean, I'm sick of his crap. I'm sick of him, and he didn't move when he slid, and then Tim, they just went ahead and got into it. It is also, you notice it's August, dog days of summer. It's hot. It's hot everywhere, and it don't take much for a fight to start. So you know all those factors could be looked into it, and then it's just a bad situation for the White Sox because they're getting stories that there were no team rules with their organization. It's a rumor that one of the guys said he was gonna skip some of the games before the All-Star break, and it was alleged that Tim Anderson said, "F him, I'll pay for his flight." And the dude, you know, rolled up on him. You know, they got into it.
That's
Of
when he
course,
slapped him, right?
that's what it was reported. He said he reported he was sitting down and he slapped him. And that's man, Tim having a rough one. I saw, you know, he had some issues happen off the field, and I saw like a woman. I was like, I know you. And I was like, I know you're just following the salacious story. I know you don't follow baseball. They was just like, yeah, I know his baby mama and his wife are both happy about
Well,
that fight.
since
And
you brought that up, 'cause I remember the Pivot podcast
yeah,
interviewed him, and
hmm
that was a topic that they brought up. I didn't know anything about it because that's more on like the I guess
the
the
shade room
gospel
side,
side.
the
But
shade,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, he cheated on his woman, got her pregnant, and I'm like, all right, man. I guess you
He
made some
taking
sense.
it.
I got see.
Yeah, but he having a rough year. He really taking a lot of L's right now. That's why
And the
I'm not trying
biggest
to
thing as
pile
far
on.
as baseball with Tim Anderson, he has not homered in a whole calendar year. I'm thinking, well, damn, dude, you slumping all over the
It's
place, huh?
it's rough.
That boy
I
taking
would say
L's
this.
all over the place, man.
I would say this. He's in the last year of his deal. Nobody even traded for him in their rough situation. He needs to this offseason find a team where he might have to do they said this a lot, and I hate to put anybody in this category. He might need to go be a mercenary like a Christian Wood. Go sign that deal where you're gonna get up and be able to eat, and then, well, in baseball terms, have a great first half and then you'll be a valuable trade piece. They trade you, then you get your money next off season. And the thing is that sucks about it is he's one of the guys ushering in the new style of baseball with the flair. And sometimes I think he gets too much hate for it, Where some of the Latin guys, they get a lot of love. Like, hey, that's just the way they play. It's, they got a different feeling. I'm like, man, that's the way this man plays. It's a good, he wants to feel good. He's been an all-star. He's marketable. He's been in commercials. So it's just like, I just think he needs a bounce back season to get back right. And he's a professional baseball player, not a fighter. Stay out, stay out. I would advise him to stay out of the fights. So that's just my thing with that. And like I said, I know we touched on NHL a little bit. I just want more inclusiveness like basketball. Hey, if they get into it, but I do think, and I've heard players say this, and that's just a part of the game. You can't have as much. You can't have as much. You can have the hard fouls, you can have the tough screens, but you can't just go after nobody. And like, what is it? Anthony Davis just signed a deal. That large extension. Man, you can't go around hitting those guys and then he look up, he out a game because you hit him in his eye or somebody gets pushed, somebody breaks their hand. It's so much money at stake. You're not looking at it that way. And I guess my last thought is, I guess in baseball, it's easier for it to just happen. I mean, you playing on a diamond, the bases are far apart. It's tough for everybody to get to everybody. If you just want to haul off and swing on somebody, then that's why everybody rushes because it's like, hey, let's break it up. Or in some cases, I've seen in the past, you get into it with like, hey, I don't like him either, I'm about to slide him. And so you run into a lot of that with baseball. Football, of course, you're together in basketball. They got the rule. Hey, you can't, either the money protects you, the rules of who's who and who's he can't, as much as Chris Paul punches people in the groin, you can't go around putting your hands on Mr. Allstate. Like, it just, they like, hey, this guy in the commercial, he's selling tickets. Even though he's disliked by a lot of people, you got to chill on it. So, like, oh boy, they said they thought he was going to be out of the league when he was chasing LeBron. The center from backup center from Detroit. Remember that fight they got into, and he was like,
you talking about?
Not his last. I don't know why I'm thinking about Maxwell. I'm thinking about another generation.
No, it was. It was. I forgot. I know exactly what you're talking about. But go ahead and break this NCAA realignment. Inform the folks on them real quick. I gotta go watch this little one hands real quick because
no problem. So we're just basically, I'm gonna start from the beginning. As far as conference realignment and how it happened. So basically, it's been rumored that hey, the Power Five teams, they were not really happy about how things with the Group of Five, and they understand their power. They understand that the NCAA is very powerful. So basically, we talked about it last week. Texas A&M absolutely hates Texas, and the feeling's mutual. Well, it had been rumored Texas probably a decade ago was going to go to the Pac-12. They were going to take a buddy school with them. So, as far as regional rivalries, it was going to be Oklahoma. Deal fell through for whatever reason. A&M ends up going to the SEC. Well, now A&M breaks the news that Texas and Oklahoma are coming to the SEC. It was supposed to be in the first year in like 2025. Well, deals came out. Money always changes hands. They paid the buyout fee, and Texas and Oklahoma are joining the SEC in 2024. And so once that domino dropped, and SEC always being the most powerful conference in college football, going on at least a decade, more, but we just say at least a decade. Just such a strong conference. So now you have this super conference in the SEC that's already on top. You have the next domino drop. USC announces along with UCLA to keep the regional rivalries. If you keep the theme going here, they're going to go to the Big Ten. And so now you have them going to the Big Ten to create a super conference. The Big Ten is clearly the second strongest conference, makes a lot of money. And now you got the Pac-12 scrambling. Well, the Pac-12, instead of being proactive, what do? They just sit there and stand put. And then next thing you know, you get the Big 12, who everyone thinks, well, Texas is leaving, they're going to die. If you haven't followed during Big 12 media days, they basically turned their nose up at Oklahoma and Texas. It didn't make it any better that TCU not only made the playoff, made the national championship game. We don't have to talk about what happened. We know what happened. But the fact that they were like, hey, they didn't even, they haven't been relevant or they haven't won anything. Like, oh, I don't want to say anything good about Oklahoma, but it's not like they haven't won recent championships, really recently and carried the conference, making the playoffs and everything like that. So Colorado says, hey, look, we're going to go ahead and jump to the Big 12. So Colorado jumps to the Big 12. And then you have a situation where Oregon, basically the Pac-12 is trying to hold out the deal where like, oh, we got this Apple deal out here. It's like they literally out here doing the worst sales job ever. Nothing real solid and solidified, dangling that carrot because the conferences make so much money from those TV deals. And it's all about money, like college football, like
All
everything. It's
about
about
college
money.
football.
And now Oregon, a power with the Phil Knight Nike money. Oregon and Washington say, look, we're going to the Big Ten too. And so now you got the Big Ten with the powers from the Pac-12 in USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. Because let's see, I know Washington has made the playoff. Oregon is a strong team, producing draft picks and does a lot of winning. USC Heisman Trophy winner, so you just took their power. And then you get the reports that, man, Arizona and Arizona State are like, hey, we're gonna go ahead and join the party too and leave. And now the Pac-12, a once proud conference, a conference that was literally built as far as rivalries and as far as bowl season. That's why the Rose Bowl is so big. People from the Midwest that deal with that cold get to be like, hey, our team is qualified for the Rose Bowl. We're gonna go out there, we're gonna kick it, we're gonna go visit our friends that it was too cold for them. They moved. It was a cultural thing that they went and you get to go see, hey, their, West Coast speed and how they run, how they're going to deal with our Big Ten physical self and, how we get down and mush people around. And it was a great bowl, and a great times to put those two conferences together. And now it's just been ripped away. Now you got like the Arizona State. AD was just like, I ain't going to West Virginia. You joined the conference, but you're like, I don't want to go. Nobody wants to go to these weird one-offs because college football is built and best as a regional sport. And that has absolutely been destroyed at this point. Like you have it in some pockets, but you have weird instances where you're going to have Missouri playing against, you've already had it, Kentucky.
Missouri would have been better fit for the Big Ten.
Big Ten. And they're alone
more natural rivalries right there.
Yeah.
What's up,
definitely would have more natural. Definitely.
I look at this because you're looking at, because I don't know if you brought it up yet, but you got Stanford and Cal. You hearing reports that they looking at joining the ACC. That's Southeast U.S. So you got
and the Atlantic Coast, yeah.
So you got
I hadn't brought that
schools playing. Of course, you already got USC. They could potentially play, say, Rutgers or somebody. You got Arizona playing some Big 12 schools, which are also, like you brought up, West Virginia, but you going to the Big 12. So all of this, and it just shows you the greed in NCAA as far as all of this is because of college football. All of it's for college football.
All of it.
It's not like they just taking the football teams out and going to play these games that are nowhere near them, but they're going to take football teams. But they only play one game a week. You got football teams. You have baseball teams, volleyball teams, golf, all these other sports. And I believe football, they're big enough where they can take charter flights. But these other programs like volleyball, golf, whatever, they got to take commercial flights. So I already heard that schools like USC, they are looking at potentially going to these East Coast games that they'll have, and actually it'll be USC and UCLA on the same flight. These commercial flights is flying together to go over there to play these games, kind of some cluster-like games over there. And it's just making a whole mess of this whole thing because all of this is because college football wants more money, and you are literally putting your smaller athletic programs. I'm like, dude, how do y'all? Because I guess I don't want to say easier, but I guess with football, you only play once a week. But basketball and baseball have these. I'm like, dude, y'all really are sitting here going to fly across country, and it's just not your sport.
Man, the love, I appreciate you checking in, man, Jonathan. But I just wanted to say I want to piggyback on what you said, Johnny. It's literally about the bag, and I want to get this off my chest. It's been something for a long time as far as college football is concerned. Everyone loves to be like, oh, the rivalries, the pageantry, all so much better than professional sports, blah blah blah, football, and they mention that a lot. And my thing is, as far as like my alma mater, yeah, I got a lot of pride, and it's a smaller level of college football, it's Division 1 FC, so it's just something that it just still has the special feel because I do have regional rivalries. But when you come to it and you look at you're playing in you playing on another side of the coast, and you play, USC versus Ohio State is definitely going to be something that everybody wants to see. It's going to look great, especially if it's one of those games where it's snowing and it's cold. But you have, as far as some of the other things, the other things, it's going to be bad games. Like I heard Colin Cowherd saying something like, "Yeah, college has you have a lot of those lopsided games just because, hey man, you out between you. It was already the haves and the have-nots. Now you got the UIL, and now you got people chasing the bag, and it's just like if we're gonna talk about chasing money." I'd rather y'all not call yourself the NCAA in college. I just would rather y'all call y'all semi-pro football. That where sometimes the kids occasionally go to college courses, and you still don't pay them. So you're moving around for all these contracts, and now it's like, hey, you got to go get paid off your name, image, and likeness. And over here, we just gonna get this $1 billion deal. Don't worry about that. And the fact that we've made it so much about money. Like, yeah, money has needed to operate the sports, but the programs are set up like this. The only revenue sports are major college football and college basketball. So football takes its bag, basketball takes its bag, and they take it and they fund the other sports. Well, what you have is when you have a conference that falls apart like the Pac-12, hey man, Stanford already talking about because that is a high academic school. I have to cut sports. So now people that is less opportunities for those kids to go and play. Like we know the main focus should be, hey, most of these guys, like they say their slogan, they're going pro in something other than sports. Now they won't even get the chance to be like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna be a dentist, but hey, before I did that, I played college volleyball. Or hey, before I did that, I played college softball. And it's a real messed up situation. And the coach from Missouri, which is interesting enough, they chose wrong in the realignment. I mean, they get the money, but they also get their head beat in on the football field wise. But the coach of Missouri was just like, what about the basketball team? What about them? When they have to take those flights, like you mentioned about being commercial, they got to take those flights, and like volleyball and basketball games. Some of those they can't all be on the weekend. They're during the week. Exactly. So we got during the week. Exactly. You have to go here and do these different things, and then when you're in these really large conferences, you can't always do things a certain way. Like I know, as far as the Southwestern Athletic Conference, I've seen it to where you got to on the weekend, like let's say Prairie and TSU doing the buddy system, and they're playing FAMU, and then they turn back around and they play Bethune-Cookman. Similar areas. So it's like then you come back and you get home, but doing that so much, that's taxing on the student athlete's body, taxing on their mind. Taxing on their academics. That's right. They are there for school, right? Right. But we know that's not the case. So it's just like it's a real situation where Pandora's box has been open. The rich are gonna get richer. Like Georgia has broke the code. They got the right saving assistant. They got the right level of recruiting. They're giving the right bags out, back-to-back champs. And now you're gonna see those teams and others. They're gonna be successful. And you're gonna have other teams just go and just fall and fade away, and it's gonna be like, yeah. Now Alabama might slip a little bit, and you might see another power come up, but they're still gonna be Bama. They're still gonna be better than the other teams. They're gonna expand the playoff. Half those games could be blowouts, like we've seen with the 4-seeded playoff. Most of the games have been blowouts. We haven't got a whole bunch of just great games. It's kind of like moving away from the bowl system and moving toward the playoff. It's not turning out the way we wanted it to, and I think they went with too many teams for the playoffs, but it's all about money. They're trying to renegotiate with ESPN when their deal is up, getting more playoff teams, and it's college football. Like I put it in that chat for the group. I was like, it's about to look totally different. It's going to be totally different, and I've heard this mentioned from people. There could be teams that you literally haven't. I heard listed on the radio. You haven't followed your team for a little bit. They, this is your team. You love them, but you root for them forever. You look up 3 years later, and it's just like, how did we get in the ACC? How did we get to the pit? How did we get to the SEC? How did these things happen? Why in the hell are we playing this team? It's like, where's our rivalry? Where's our, they running into that with the SEC. But they granted us our wish where Texas gets to play A&M and they still play Oklahoma. Auburn is still going to play Alabama, but the oldest rivalry in the South, Auburn versus Georgia. That how often we're going to get that. So it's so much to unpack with it. I it makes it's like, look, for me it's kind of like I told you so. I told you I didn't care about his money. They're no better than the NFL. It's just 32 owners over there that can dictate things and do it, and they don't lie about what their intentions are. They want 18 games. They want more money. Y'all want y'all want the contracts. Y'all want that big contract for the playoff games, and we don't know how all those playoff games are going to play out on the regular season. You're going to see teams playing nobodies. Like, that's why the SEC don't want to go to a non-conference game. Why beat ourselves up? They want 4-5. They want probably 4 to 6 playoff teams because they feel like conference is going to be that strong.
And with all these realignments, I don't know if it was true or if it was a rumor. So you got OU and Texas going to the SEC the year after next for 2024. A&M, I've heard that they was trying to see about how can they go to the Pac-12, I believe. Now, like I said, this was just rumors I heard, so I don't know if
I hadn't heard that because from what I had heard, and it's hard to tell because Aggies, they're different. They were so happy about being in the SEC and going there first. Their main thing, the concern was Texas doesn't get a vote on how things go because they haven't been a member long enough, and that the first game when they played in the rivalry needs to be at A&M because they're already a member. And it's just one of those deals where it's like, y'all still don't get it. Y'all still trying to. They also, the SEC, I've heard maybe that's where that rumor came from. They're trying to massage their feelings about Texas coming because it was kind of like we got the SEC all to ourselves and you got it all to yourselves and you never won a conference championship and you had a Heisman Trophy winner though. So it's one of those deals. You're still 8-4, but you got more cachet because you got the SEC patch on, and they just kind of, yeah, it's us. And then, you know what I mean? Like I said it while you were busy. They literally leaked the news that Texas didn't know you was coming. Like that's a matter of fact, it was them because who got the biggest imprint as a college in Houston? A&M. The Houston Chronicle broke the story. Like it's one of those, we can say sources, but I mean, who the source was. And it's crazy. It's only gonna get wilder with them. With the college football right now, that will feel more like college football with them slinging mud at A&M and A&M slinging at UT and vice versa. But teams like Oklahoma could get a raw deal. What if they win? I hate to say this, won like 7 Big 12 titles in a row, and quarterbacks going to the league, and Texas couldn't find camp. One of the reasons why they could not get a quarterback, the team up north, they get them transferred in, they send them out. Even if they get him like the kid that ended up going to South Carolina, he was a top recruit. Okay, he's good. He's going to be the one. Send him out. Here comes Caleb Williams. Now, transfer portal and all of that, your coach left and took his quarterback because he knew there was a certain ceiling at Oklahoma, and he realized that. But and I know everyone wants to point at NIL, but the NIL is not the biggest thing. I'll say the greed and the lack of structure. The lack of structure from the NCAA. And they don't, and then they find out, okay, they don't run anything. It's going to get to a point where it's like the NCAA is like, okay, y'all still here in name, but the Power 5 schools that have the power just going to be like, hey, we got these mega conferences. We just going to do it like this. We don't make our own sanctions, our own rules. They're already trying to, I say, cut the players out of their money and go over to the Congress and be like, hey, can you guys make a bill? I think Congress would tell them F yourself. They should. Like you've been getting free labor for years and you're still not paying them directly. Just handle it amongst yourselves, like amongst the millionaires and billionaires that y'all have funding your schools. Figure it out. So it's like I want them to figure it out, but it's gonna come some Saturdays where like some people will be like, we're still gonna watch. Like that's the crazy thing. We're gonna watch because it's gonna be compelling to see. Oh man, Georgia, what's the 2024? Georgia coming to Texas.
Yeah, the
That's
fan
gonna be
bases are
like
gonna like it because they're gonna be
they're
able
gonna love
to
it.
see teams that they don't normally see unless it's a bowl game. And a
Hmm.
lot of times those bowl games be at these they don't be at the respective schools.
Yeah,
But when they're coming, because I seriously doubt every game is gonna be at a neutral field, even though they're gonna be at a in the same conference. So they're gonna be going to each other's respective schools, including
and you can get that
Texas.
experiment.
Texas and UT, A&M and UT, they gonna have to go, renew their rivalry. I think the fans wanted to renew the the front office people like the university presidents and
They don't care. It's bad.
ADs. Yeah, they the ones who in their feelings, especially A&M's. I don't think UT
Yeah.
really care. UT
I,
A&M I think was the one who got in their feelings and
they got in their feelings because of the whole Longhorn Network thing. And the thing was,
exactly.
all they should have done is went to the commissioner and said, instead of them doing the network, the Big 12 still doesn't have an official network. They should have went to the Big 12 and got the network. I said that at the time when it was happening. I was like, and I literally had seen Bob Bowlesby once, and I was just like, you need to get a net. I wanted to tell him, I was like, but I was a little lowly interested. I was like, get a network. Like, other people are getting the networks, like you got to get this done and get this rolling out, and you had a chance to at least, if you can't out, you could at least get the funds together and be like, hey, we got our business deal together. Because I always thought, competitive wise, money wise, they should have been trying to pry Arkansas out of the SEC. They should have been trying to take them out of the SEC to basically kind of get the Southwest Conference kind of situation. You got most of the team, get them back. Obviously, I know Nebraska made their decision to leave. I always felt that they should, and this was Texas's fault. They should have added U of H and SMU. Just kind of add that
They did
back.
not want
Get
they
that
did not
flavor.
want to get U of H for whatever reason.
They
Well,
did.
I forgot the reason, but they did not want U of H back.
The power structure. If you look at it from a recruiting. If you can get,
Yeah.
it used to be the Houston area, Dallas Fort Worth. So if you get those two areas, you get some Central, get some East, get a few guys nationally, you good to go. Well, that footprint leaves, and Houston people love Houston. It's a great city. So if they can play major college football in their city, they're gonna stay. Look at Ed Oliver. He was like he bought into it. They had some success, but because of the blocking from Texas, it wasn't gonna be able to happen because I know Texas was feeling like, dang, we already got to deal with A&M. That's strong foothold in their territory. Then U of H is gonna come, and then once A&M left for the SEC, that opened the pipeline to Texas, and that's another part of the SEC. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. Texas has to cut off the pipeline to Texas more. A&M does too, and USC has to lock down California. That's why that Saban got so strong. Najee Harris, Bryce Young, number one overall pick. Najee Harris, the first round draft pick at running back, Bay Area. 20 years ago, they're fight on Trojan guys. Straight up. No question, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you gotta kind of control your area. Yeah, some are gonna leave, but you gotta get the big dogs. That's what Texas' deal next is tomorrow. Colin Simmons. Colin Simmons, the number one edge rusher, a position of need for Texas. Looking at LSU heavy. A lot of people say they're comfortable with it being Texas. And then I don't know if y'all like. There's a couple of guys that got at Duncanville that are like, one guy is a top receiver in the 25 class, elite speed. He's not really high on Texas's list, but LSU is very interested. So it's one of those deals where this could be a play where if Simmons goes to either LSU or Texas, maybe they'll get those other guys because Duncanville is a strong school in the state of Texas with a lot of talent. So
Remember they are going to expand the college football playoff, I believe, in 24. So
yeah,
maybe that because I know for recruits, the biggest thing they were looking at was these other teams, these same teams now they predominantly not in SEC. They have a better chance of getting to a championship game, or not even a championship game per se, but the playoff. But now, but for more exposure now, I don't really know if winning is a thing that as far as young athletes today, especially in team sports.
It,
I don't know if
it's
that's their push thing. I think it's just more exposure so they can
winning.
potentially get some more bigger
Winning is
NIL
there.
deals.
I will say winning is there because winning and production as far as getting to the league. Like you still see Florida, they haven't won big in a while, but they can still get guys because you can look up and say, look, you're gonna get drafted. You know, LSU obviously you're gonna point at it like, hey, you're gonna get drafted and you're gonna have a hell of a time in Baton Rouge. So that it's still a matter of that. Like I've heard from whispers from listening to it, Colin Simmons really enjoyed the culture of LSU. Even though Austin, as I know, just dabbling in it. It's a fun city to be at. I can only imagine being 18 years old, 19 years old, playing college sports. Yeah, it's an easy draw. So that's still a thing. I don't think that's going anywhere. But so if you look at the recruiting rankings, it's still about winning and money. Like every now and again, you see him be like that the top running back from the state of Texas. He was committed to Louisville. I can only say I'm not saying his life. I'm just saying this. Hey, that's an interesting choice to go to Louisville. They
That
had Lamar
reminds me of
Jackson.
back in the day with Dickerson told him to
Yeah,
go to SMU. He's like, some I know it's
the classic.
NIL deals, but it's you gonna go to Louisville. They haven't had nobody since Lamar
Yeah,
Jackson, so I don't know
yeah, and
how this list.
of course, he ended up going to A&M, who has been rumored. You know how they had the on the downside. They just had one of the best classes we've ever seen. So many 5 stars, so many quality guys, and it's just like, yeah, you can kind of guess, and people take their shots. But the only thing with that is that's been going on, and now it's just over the table. It's over the table instead of under the table because I mean, there's been a lot of rumors about Nick Saban. I've heard about guys that was in the state of Texas that was supposed to go to another school or something, and then it was like, man, I really want to go to Alabama, and that's where I'm committing. That's why there's that meme when they lose. This is me with Nick Saban yelling, and this is like I want all those charger keys on my front desk at 8 in the morning. Those jokes are there for a reason. It's like maybe everybody's lying, or maybe somebody's not, and it's just one of those deals. Like I've heard recruiting people say, even as back as Michigan State, I heard that players at the All Star game, hey man, they get you paid over here, and now it's just over the table. You can regulate it. You get the people to take care of your taxes. You get the people to you can line things up. Hell, if you're not going to be that great of a player on the next level, stay 5 years. Red shirt and stay 4 years. Get your bag and be like, hey, I'm gonna be an ambassador for the university. I'm gonna have a cup of tea in the NFL, but then I'm gonna be in a nice suit on the what is it? What is the speak with Joy Taylor and the cowboy people, the cowboy detractors, McCoy and all of them. So it's
Oh,
just
he
like
came to a practice recently.
the
He
biggest
didn't talk to
biggest photo
nobody
op.
as far as the players, but
Yeah.
he came.
He came. He had a conversation with Newey Scruggs, and he was just pointing things out. I was like, yeah, you're trying to be quick on your feet, but what he did, and then to show up on the herd and talk about, hey man, Tony Pollard looked good, and then to be like, hey bro, Tony Pollard didn't practice. It's just one of those deals where national media just going and saying stuff, and it's just like, and he left. True enough, I heard that he left because you got to go do your own show. But you could have came on the weekend and really checked it out and really did real journalism work. And that is, people may not realize it. If you're not gonna look up things and research them, and if you're not gonna talk about things in a certain level, then at that point, it's SummerSlam. It's SummerSlam. It's WrestleMania. It's wrestling. It's not you're doing a script and a bit, and so that was funny. It was just funny for them to do that, and it's like so it's like look, it's August and it's already gonna be bad this season. Every time Dak does something or anything like that, it's gonna be something crazy.
Well, since we transitioned to some of the NFL stuff, I wanted to go over. The NFL players now they came out with they top 100, and we got the not too long ago we got the top 10, and I just read off
Yeah.
the names from that real quick. So you have number 10, Chris Jones, defensive end from KC. Of course, Michael Parsons, linebacker from the Cowboys. Josh Allen, quarterback for the Bills. Tyreek Hill, receiver from the Dolphins. Joe Burrow, quarterback for the Bengals. Travis Kelce, tight end for KC. Nick Bosa, DN for the 49ers. Jalen Hurts, of course, QB for the Eagles. My phone want to start skipping. Justin Jefferson, receiver for the Vikings. And finally, of course, Patrick Mahomes, QB for the KC. And I believe, look like Kansas City has three players currently in the top 10 that was voted for by the players. Now I understand this list is just more, I guess from what they did back in the past, from last year. That's basically all he plays back. Because sometimes you see lists, what I be trying to get at when I be seeing these rankings like this, or y'all just doing this on a year-to-year basis, basically how they performed the previous season, if it's like an early season ranking like this, or y'all trying to consider something like a portion of years. And
Okay.
you see some players.
I think a lot of it is the current year. I think it's mainly the current year.
But then you be hearing people be saying, like, you hear comments, well, this player's been doing it longer, meaning that they had a couple of extra seasons on their belt that they performed like this. So then them people be looking at it as a bundle instead of a year, like Jalen Hurts, for example. Because Jalen
up to number 3.
Jalen is ranked higher than Burrow. But you ask some people, they will say, because they both went to a Super Bowl, but then you got some people say they believe Burrow's higher than Hurts because he has done it longer. So they trying to bundle multiple seasons. Obviously, Hurts is just from last year because we didn't know how he was going to be at the beginning of the season. It was like, can he prove to be the starting quarterback for the Eagles? So you see, it just goes back and forth with that.
It does, but I think it's more of a, when they talk to him, it's the fact that it's during that current season, the last season, a lot of the times when they talk to the guys. Because I've heard the writers say, hey, you can see the NFL 100 list, and sometimes you can see that some guys blow it off, or when they're talking about it, it's within the season. It's like, hey, look at the moves, look at what he did, this and that. And some of it is projection, but some of it is, if they feel like you had a down year, they'll drop you, and so it's not off production. Aaron Donald should still be pretty high in my opinion. Yeah, he was in a trashy situation, and yeah, it's easy at his position where you can kind of move everything away from him because everything over here is not so good on the defensive line. So we just gonna run over here, make every call away from you, and try to neutralize you, and he can still wreck a game. But that's something. But in my respects, I do think there is a lot of recency bias. Like, obviously, as good as the season as Hurts and Joe Burrow have, I still think Joe Burrow is a better quarterback. But am I mad at Hurts being 3? I'm not. I'm not tripping on it. He had a year in which we were talking about not just could he be the starter quarterback. We were like, man, they got a lot of first round picks. If he don't work out, they could get a quarterback. Well, instead, they reloaded on their defense. So that makes their defense even stronger and gets the offset losses that they're going to do. So he helped them in so many ways. That's why he got the contract extension, which I promote. Get the contract extension as soon as you can. Don't be like Lamar. Get the first bag and then build up and get another one and hit the market. So respect the Hurts for that. And I have no problem with him being 3. But it's just that I know people, hey, well, Burrow, they do it with other players all the time. And they put somebody up because of one season success. So, I was happy to see like a guy like Mike up there, moving up and getting respect amongst the players. As if that's, sometimes when you look at the list, it's like, sometimes the players are inconsistent. Like they had like CeeDee Lamb or Jamar Chase. Love Lamb, but I was like, I don't think he's, better than Chase. He has a chance to prove it, but I just don't. I know he has more room to grow. But it's interesting to see what they think of guys and what analysts think of guys. And we get talking. We as Cowboy fans, you get killed all the time. You mentioned Dak Prescott as being a good quarterback. The players think he's good. He's a top 100.
What he was?
Analysts think he was, a top 10 quarterback. So
speaking of Dak, I was listening to a show on the ultimately when I went to go pick up Charlie. They was Okay, it was ESPN Radio, and they was interviewing Louis Scruggs from
Okay.
ABC5 and DFW,
Hmm.
and they was trying they was trying so hard. And what I'm noticing, especially non-Cowboys fans, when it comes to Dak Prescott, they try so hard to get Cowboys fans or people within the DFW area who follow the team. They try so hard to make them say to pin you down, and whether say Dak, can the Cowboys win with Dak or not. And Newey was like, I believe the Cowboys can win with Dak, but he has to prove it. He has to show it.
You got to
You
show it.
know,
That's the only thing.
and but
That
they
that's
they
why I
they
don't.
want them to say this. They want him to pretty much,
They
because I
want the
know
hot
it
take.
happened to me. They want this yes or no, and we saying like you can win with Dak. Can he? But then can you put like any receiver on the squad and have him go out there and elevate their game? No, you're gonna have to put a talented receiver core to do that. And then a lot of
You have
times
to
when
have a
people
guy with
come
at
back,
least talent. Yeah.
a lot of times the names that people will come back, well, so and so can do that. It's usually a quarterback that's already universally viewed as higher than Dak anyway,
Hired
and that's
a guy that was
uh
drafted
yeah,
high in the first
Rodgers,
round or
Mahomes, Burrow.
Burrow.
Burrow still, because he has all pro talent with him too. So, but when they say that, only one I can really say who who really performed great was Deshaun Watson. Was last year with the Texans. He didn't have no superstar cat. I mean, Brandon Cooks was the best receiver. That's when he almost threw 5,000 yards when it was literally just
Yeah.
him. You know,
It was
so
Cooks and it. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, that gets the most. Like, hey, he's got to be able to do it elevated. Like, I get a friend that fights with me all the time about who is that elevated, and the quarterback that he really likes is like, oh, he got them paid and this, that, and the third. And I was like, and then that gets no credit for the deal that Cedric Wilson got in Miami. Like, you had Cedric Wilson looking like people were Cowboys fans were furious he let go, and I was like, hey, bro, he developed him. He was a four-string guy. Wasn't really playing a lot. Like, yeah, he made him look good, bro. Just get somebody else, put them in that position, and let them learn the playbook. Let them get a rapport with Dak. Let him go to his backyard, the backyard as they call it. Let him get their rapport, and he'll be fine. Like, he could elevate a guy like that, but is he gonna get a guy and be like, hey, make him into a star? No. But then at the same time, we talking out of both sides of our mouth when we'll
mhm.
say, well, other teams go. You'll hear the fan base, man. Other teams, man, they're going out getting their quarterbacks star weapons and this, that, and the third. And it's just like, so do you want to surround the quarterback with all the weapons, or do you want the quarterback to build them up? It's probably somewhere in between. You need a base level of talent. You need a Lamb. You need to go get a Cooks because you don't have any speed. You have a Gallup. Go ahead and develop. But who was Gallup before he came into him and Dak threw to him? So it's kind of one of those. He doesn't get that credit. And then you got the George Taylor's was like, hey, he's not special. He's not this. He's like, and it's like you see that, and it's just like get him there. So it's like I don't. And that's where we got to take it out of the equation of quarterback wins because there's a quarterback. I know everybody loves Dak's throwing interceptions. There's a quarterback that threw 7 picks in back-to-back practices that has been on the team and quarterback the team that made the Super Bowl. And that's Jimmy Garoppolo. Nobody in this point is saying, hey, man, I really want Jimmy Garoppolo. He's been here into these places. You can line up and say, yeah, Dak may not have been to this round of the playoffs. He's a damn sure better quarterback than that guy. Like, you see it. That guy's lost his job. Like, he was lost his job twice, once for injury, and then he got it back because of injury. And then it was just like, he was so good, we would have kept him. The 49ers decided to keep Purdy. So it's like Dak has an impossible measurement standard. I just want consistency in the arguments. That's what I really want. I want the
Yeah,
consistencies in the argument so you can see, hey, he's doing this. He's doing versus this guy doing that. Like, it's some things like we bring up the turnover so much, and I'm on the
exactly.
bandwagon. I'm on the bandwagon of Josh Allen. We never bring up his turnovers. We bring it up in a quick segment, and then we say, man, he's the top 5 quarterback in the league. He's got enough materials. And I would say it's time. We had this LaShawn McCoy leadership thing. We really got to start talking about. I won't be too hard on Josh Allen about the leadership with Diggs, but I want to say, hey, what's the problem with that dynamic? Is it just that y'all two different people from walks of life? What is the problem? Because this guy's really good. So is the quarterback. Y'all need to make it work out, and y'all can do a lot of damage together.
I
That's
see
all
K
I
I
just.
see KP, and I guess mentioning Dak is going to bring all type. It's 32 teams in the NFL, 32 starting quarterbacks. He say Dak is a top 15. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess technically that's true, but I believe Dak is a top. It's a hit and miss whether he's a top 10, but I already know he's a top 12. And
Yeah, according to the players in several
yeah,
lists, he's not. The 15 thing is kind of,
the only by the time you get to number 9 through 11 are names that you basically are you going to take Dak over Kyler Murray? I say yes. Kyler Murray, he got physical skill set. I guess he could throw the ball, but he got other stuff he got to deal with. That you definitely don't want to have to deal with your QB. Then you have Trevor Lawrence. Now we believe ultimately, if the thing about it, Dak Prescott was a 4th round pick. Trevor Lawrence was a number 1 pick. You expect Trevor Lawrence to be ultimately better. Now he finally had a good season. Now, was Trevor Lawrence's season last season better than Dak's best season? I don't think so. I mean, you really got to compare numbers. You really got to sit down and look at numbers to numbers.
You got to compare the performances, and it started to click late for him. Like, the Cowboys blew that game against the Jags, and it was one of those deals where you said, Dak can't have that turnover, and it's one of those deals where it's like when you look at it. Hey, bro, he threw the ball and he hit the guy on a hot route and he popped the ball back in the air to take for a pick 6. That's where, like, sometimes, it goes on the standpoint of the interception. And then the quarterback probably says, hey, he probably lies and say, hey, I got to do something better. When what he really wants to say is, hey, the guy got to catch the ball. But you take the L, you take it. And Trevor Lawrence, he had the playoff game where it was uneven, where it's like, wasn't really doing anything. And then the Chargers just went completely left and gave that game to them. So it's just like that's where the credit comes from winning the playoff games.
He had 4 picks in the first half.
And that's where we go to the point of that's where we go to the point. If Dak Prescott does that, even in a victory, they are leading despite 4 picks is the headline. And it's just one of those deals where it's just like, I just want to keep it fair. That's my biggest thing for to say, hey, keep it consistent, keep it realistic.
Because the game before against Tampa Bay, that was probably one of Dak's best games as a QB.
Best game.
And he lit up Tampa. He lit them up.
I'm talking about
everything. Of course, the next game, which I admit was one of his worst.
That was one of his worst.
When they lost Pollard, there
was nothing there.
He did not step up because they didn't have no more playmakers. But then, so basically, the QBs, I guess that if I want to put Dak in the top 10, it's really Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, or Kirk Cousins. Because number 1 through 9 are the names that you already going to bring up. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, including Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert. Ultimately, I'll still put Deshaun Watson. Who else you have? I'm not.
You got to show it to me, but he got to show me a little bit more. But Tua's in that next, like when you say top 15, Tua's outside of that top 10.
Yeah.
I say Tua's more into that group. I say Cousins is in that group with it just outside of the top 10. I say Carr. Derek Carr is a guy just outside of the top 10 because it's talking about it's just those guys are just they're good, but they just haven't pushed to that next level to where you're like, hey, year in, year out, I know for a fact, hey, this team is going to be in the mix for the playoffs, in the mix to do something in January. And that's basically what you're looking for when you're looking at these top 10 guys is who can lead things, because there's only about 3 quarterbacks that it's just like no matter situation, you feel like, well, I say 3, but Joe Burrow has had a dynamic receiver for in Jamar Chase since his second year, and he's had Tyler Boyd, who's a quality receiver. So you've had receiving targets and a running game.
He did.
Yeah, and so that's where it gets kind of tough is where you say, hey guys, but we've seen Tyreek Hill, hey, goodbye, and everyone was like, well, good thing Chiefs won a Super Bowl. So I want to say Mahomes is the guy that can do it. Hurts, you saw him do it with when he got weapons, he did it. So that's why I say you can't just say, hey, he got to build it, he got to get it out the mud. Nah, bro, this is an offensive league. You need a good quarterback with weapons and an offensive line. He has those things. Voila, Super Bowl. Took his team to the Super Bowl. So that's why I feel like the argument gets kind of is based on who do you feel is a good quarterback and who do you like. Like Mr. Bennett snapped us up, was like, dang, it's like, okay, he just said he top 10. And this is only top 15. It's just like, who do you like and what skill sets do you like? Like, I know one that he does get a lot of pushed up high, and he looked bad from the play. He looked bad because they had that lead, but Justin Herbert got all the tools. He got all the tools.
Well, the thing about Herbert, you could definitely see when he got his new contract. Herbert is legit. The thing about Herbert is his damn coach is the one that's putting him in these funny situations. You know, I can't really. I remember I was having a debate with somebody.
Hey, I can live with 12. I'm cool with that.
A while back about when the game we just talked about between the Chargers and the Jaguars, and how you can't blame that on Herbert. The offense they spotted the defense, the points. You also get paid millions of dollars. You got to play, and you can't just give up. You got 4 picks in the first half, and all of a sudden completely go the opposite in the second half to allow Jacksonville to come back and win that game. I can't put that on Herbert because he did his job. Almost the same way like Matt Ryan in the Super Bowl when the Patriots ultimately came back. They was up 28-3, and the defense, you do your job. Now I know
why didn't the offensive genius cause some runs? Just thinking for a little bit more time, he's ran off the clock.
And that can be on the OC, whoever's calling the game.
Cal Shanahan.
Yeah, exactly. So when you see him now, he run the ball like hell in San Fran. But I know people will say, well, Matt Ryan should have audible out and all this. I'm like, dude, they can't just always. They don't always just change plays. And
as fans, we don't know what play calls come with the audibles and what not. We don't know that at all. So that's where it kind of comes to a situation is you can put a lot on Matt. You can put the blame on the head coach, which obviously Quinn ended up getting let go. They never recovered. Dan Quinn, Matt Ryan, Kyle Shanahan. Those 3 people take the show. And the defense. Like you have a 25-point lead. Like, you don't need to play, super aggressive, engage 8, sending everyone. But you do need to be aggressive enough to keep the quarterback uncomfortable. He clearly is one of the great quarterbacks that we've ever seen. He caught on to what you were doing. So you gotta go ahead and switch some things up. But I don't know, man. Sometimes when it comes to quarterbacks, we get really enamored and we don't look past our biases. And that's the thing. For me, I think Kyler Murray is in probably the worst situation because he's coming off an injury and they could not get a coach. They could not get a coach that they wanted. They had to settle for
the worst situation because of him. Kyler, it's self-inflicted.
It's very much self-inflicted. They literally didn't want the team because of you. They didn't want to take the coaching job because it's a difficult situation.
That's why his stuff, you don't hear nothing like that saying of Dak, Jalen Hurts, even Aaron Rodgers was,
Herbert, even Rodgers, he got the skill. You just think he's an a-hole. So it's just like he's between
him and the front office.
Office,
not the head coach who has much jobs as that. As much people be applying for those head coaches. There's only 32 of them, but they don't want to come to your team because of your quarterback. And the thing about it, the Cardinals, I believe, I forgot who during the draft, they did try to put a trade package. I believe with Chicago, because Chicago had the number 1 pick, right? So they tried to put a trade package to get up to number 1. Well, Carolina.
Yeah, they did.
And
they ended up Carolina trading for it.
Yeah, they was trying to, and I heard Cardinals was putting the trade package, and they was including Kyler. Of course, obviously that didn't go through. So, yeah, that's why.
Here's the thing.
That alone is why I put Dak over Kyler.
Yeah. Here's the thing about that though, and I know we got to wrap up here. They are in such a weird situation. They literally drafted the quarterback before Kyler. They drafted him the year before. He was a flame out. They had the number 1 pick. They took
Josh
Kyler,
Rosen.
Josh Rosen, and they brought in Cliff Kingsbury. Depending on how many games he misses and how bad they are, don't be surprised if they be like, hey, you're going to play 3 games to show you healthy. We're going to trade you and then take Caleb Williams. And so they are, but then that would just make them look so inept. And if I was a player that was a free agent or if my contract was up, I'm like, nah, I'm not sticking around for this because that's the incompetency
Who
at
knows?
the highest
That probably
levels.
was in the mindset of D-Hop when he asked to be traded and whatnot. Of course, Kyler, he's injured right now, but he wants to go to a contender as well. So we'll see. But yeah, what's okay? So we had the Hall of Fame game last week. It's tomorrow. Tomorrow we have some I think the Texans and the Patriots play tomorrow.
I know some preseason action is kicking off because I've been hearing a lot of commercials and stuff. So the Patriots on NFL Network, the Patriots are hosting the Texans, and then in the night game, the Vikings and the Seahawks are hosting. And it's one of those deals. And I'll say this: I'm cool that football is back, but I'm more so looking at my team to see what young guys are going to play and what they're going to do. I can't watch too much preseason football because these guys are about to go pro in something other than the NFL. And, for a lot of them, some of them, diamonds in the rough, they're going to make it through. Some of them might have to cycle back and play with the USFL or the XFL. And it's just like, no diss to them, but it's just like, it hasn't been strong enough product that I want to watch it on the preseason level. So I don't watch those leagues either, but I support them getting their money and, continuing their professional career. But I want to see, hey man, is this third defensive tackle gonna make the team? I only had the capacity to do that for one team. If I see a guy went to my alma mater or went to a school like Texas that I root for, I'll pay attention to them and try to catch them in passing. But I really only want to see the preseason. If I don't catch the beginning of the game, I can't do it. It's rough. Like when I was a kid and I used to be like, yeah, and I was like, this is terrible. And then I realized why it's terrible. There's only so many good offensive linemen. They play a series. They sitting on the bench. Then you got the backup quarterback running from his life, and receivers they don't have enough time to run around. And it's just like, bro, it's bad. Like
It look like
it's bad.
a USFL game. What's up, Hank?
What's going on, bro?
Remember, there's only 3 preseason games this year compared to the 4.
And I'm appreciative of that because it's like, look, you get to go. Like, I ain't gonna lie, Saturday when the Cowboys start off, I'm probably gonna crack a beer and watch them first 2 drives intensely, and then after that, I'm listening for names to see who gonna make the team, who gonna this. Like, I got a buddy that he really watches the preseason because he's just like he wants to get a feel for who he's gonna take in fantasy. Like, so it's just like some people, it's like a real deal.
Yeah,
and I respect that. I respect that, but
But the competition, if somebody going off in the preseason, you can't really expect them to go off in.
Yeah.
Hell, I thought. Well, he ultimately made the Pro Bowl, but I thought Cavante Turpin would be a whole lot of a threat. But they started kicking away from him. They started kicking away from him. So
yeah. And it sometimes the vision, like he should have had a return in that playoff game. And something's like, bro, all you had to do is make this cut. But it's a good time, man. I know for me, Turpin, they said Turpin is going to be more involved on the offense. I want to see some of the young guys that's going to play. And so I might, like for me, I might check the beginning of that Texas game because I like C.J. Stroud. I didn't like him as much as Bryce. I thought Bryce Young was the best quarterback in this draft. I thought C.J. Young was the second. And it's just like, because it's like you got to let the hype thing get over it. Bryce Young can get the job done.
Lovey Smith's parting shot to the Texans when they had Bryce Young as number 1 overall pick. I'm gonna go ahead and win these games.
Yeah, and I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at him one bit because those guys got professional pride. They want to win games, and you kicking me out anyway. I'm gonna leave out. I might never coach in the NFL again. I'm leaving out with a middle finger and a double. Take it. And then you can't blame. Wasn't it like a 4th and 18 that the Colts converted? Like late in that game, it was like, bro, That's come on, bro. Don't put that on Lovey. Those guys are terrible. They
Hey
do
man,
up. They threw the
you see
ball
what
up.
type of environment they have up there. So with this
Yeah.
old,
So
Ursay is Ursay. He's been like that. He's
Ursay,
not on the Snyder level, but maybe just one notch above
one
it.
notch below. One notch below. I mean, this is the guy that was caught with controlled substance and thousands of dollars. So it's just like he had to get suspended from his team. This is not the person that I trust making statements. And the faster they can get him to transfer to the lot speak, the better. But I know as we wrapping up and we only got a few minutes left, man. I appreciate y'all for checking us out. Appreciate y'all engaging us in the chat. And we're gonna be real football heavy in the next coming weeks, especially with the college starting off and a little bit less than a month, and the NFL coming to us with that Thursday night game. What is it? The Patriots, not the Patriots, the Chiefs and the Lions, and that's less than a month at this point. So I know if you anything like me, I opened up my phone the other day and it was just like, hey, you ready to reactivate your league, commissioner? And I was like, dang, it is that time. So I'm in.
My league is already
It's already there.
only thing about my league, man, cause I like doing fantasy, and I don't mind playing up to 3 leagues. But about
Yeah.
my league though, man, they keep bumping up the price, and it's a
Price.
14-team league. So I'm like,
That's a no go. You strong.
I'm
You
like, damn,
stronger.
man.
You stronger than me, man. But I know I'm in the league and I'm picking eighth, and so I think I'm trying to decide am I
How
going to do
much
another
teams?
league
How much
myself.
teams y'all?
I'm trying to see how many it's going to be because right now I looked and I thought I saw 12 or it might have been a little bit more than 12, and I'm like I'm hoping some of the people drop off because it's a decent prize money, and I felt like I'm smart enough to be able to get it done, but. I know I'm enjoying it this time of year. I know it's still hot, but at least we know after this month, it's starting to get a little cooler, and then we got football to go. So that's all I got for this week, Johnny. You got anything else to add, my brother?
Man, I'm good. I'm over here making sure this little one
Right,
don't
but
tear up stuff in there.
I know that's right, man. I got to go deal with mine. But man, this has been the One on One Sports Show. I am Dante, and
And I'm Shawnee.
we'll see y'all next week, man. Peace.
Oh yeah, peace.